At 55 years old, I finally sold the software company I'd spent 30 years building. $85 million. It was more money than I'd ever dreamed of as a kid growing up in a trailer park in Oklahoma. To celebrate, I took my wife, Elena, and her sister, Carmen, to Le Bernardin, the most exclusive French restaurant in the city. Elena smiled, raised her champagne glass, and toasted my success. She kissed my cheek and told me she was proud. And then, when she thought no one was watching, she tried to poison me. What Elena didn't know was that someone else was watching. A security guard who'd seen too much in his years as a cop to ignore his instincts. And that one quiet warning would unravel a conspiracy so calculated, so cold-blooded, it would shatter everything I thought I knew about the woman I'd been married to for 25 years. Before I continue this story, please let me know where you're watching from in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you believe that loyalty can't be bought, no matter how much money is on the table. Le Bernardin was the kind of restaurant where silence itself felt expensive. The lighting was low and amber, casting everything in a warm, intimate glow. White-gloved waiters moved like ghosts between tables. The clink of crystal and silver created a delicate rhythm that felt almost sacred. I sat across from Elena and her sister Carmen, watching them in the candlelight. My wife looked stunning, as she always did. At 52, Elena still had the bone structure that had made her a successful model in her 20s. Her dark hair was pulled back in an elegant chignon. Her dress probably cost more than my first car, and her jewelry caught the light with every movement. Carmen sat beside her, 4 years younger, but somehow harder around the edges. She'd been married twice, divorced twice, and had perfected an expression of perpetual calculation. She was a nurse practitioner, the successful, sensible one in their family. At least, that's what I'd always thought. They looked like success, like the kind of women who belonged at a table where a single bottle of wine cost 4 figures. But I'd known them long enough to see beneath the surface. I'd been married to Elena for 25 years, long enough to know when she was performing. "Robert," Elena said, lifting her champagne flute. Her voice had that breathy quality that had first attracted me 3 decades ago. "To the most brilliant man I know. 30 years of building CodeStream from nothing, and now this, $85 million. I always knew you'd do something extraordinary." Carmen raised her own glass. "To Robert, the man who proved that small-town boys can conquer the tech world. Your parents would be so proud." The mention of my parents hit me with the usual pang. They'd both died before seeing any of my success. My father, a truck driver who worked himself to death. My mother, a waitress who never got to retire. They'd sacrificed everything so I could go to college, be the first in our family to get a degree. I raised my own glass, filled with cranberry juice and sparkling water. 5 years ago, my cardiologist had been firm after my arrhythmia diagnosis. "No alcohol, Robert. Your heart can't handle it anymore." Elena knew this. She knew about my heart condition, knew about the beta blockers I took twice a day, knew about the cardiologist appointments every 3 months. She knew everything about my vulnerabilities. "Thank you," I said, my voice catching slightly. "I couldn't have done this without your support, Elena. 25 years of believing in me." Her smile was perfect. Practiced? I'd seen that smile in 1,000 photographs, at 100 charity galas, across countless dinner tables. It was the smile that said she was exactly where she was supposed to be, but her eyes didn't match the smile. They never had. "The sale closes next week," I continued, watching both their reactions carefully. "Once all the paperwork is finalized, the money hits the account. I've been thinking about what comes next. Estate planning, setting up our future, making sure everyone's taken care of." Elena's hand tightened, almost imperceptibly, on her champagne flute. Carmen leaned forward, her interest suddenly sharp and focused. That's very responsible, Carmen said smoothly. Have you consulted with an estate attorney? These kinds of sums require sophisticated planning, tax implications, asset protection, beneficiary designations. The way she said, beneficiary designations, made something cold crawl up my spine. I have a meeting with Michael Chen next week, I said. Michael had been my attorney for 15 years, one of the few people in my life I trusted completely. We're going to set everything up properly, update the will, create trusts, make sure Elena is secure no matter what happens. No matter what happens, Elena repeated softly. Her hand reached across the table to cover mine. Her skin was cold, her touch light as a bird's wing. Don't talk like that, darling. You're only 55. You have decades ahead of you. With my heart condition, I said carefully, you never know. I want to make sure everything is in order, just in case. Carmen nodded sympathetically. Very wise, especially with arrhythmia. How are you managing it? Still on the same medication. Beta blockers twice a day, I confirmed. Dr. Shapiro says my heart is stable, but I need to be careful. Avoid stress, watch my diet, take my medication religiously, and absolutely no alcohol, Elena added, her voice filled with wifely concern. Which is why Robert's drinking cranberry juice tonight instead of champagne. I'm so proud of how disciplined he is about his health. The waiter appeared to take our orders. Dover, sole for Elena, coq au vin for Carmen, filet mignon for me. We made small talk while we waited for the food, conversation drifting through safe topics. The weather, the new house Elena wanted to buy in the Hamptons, Carmen's work at the hospital. Halfway through the meal, Elena's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her perfectly composed expression flickered for just a second. Oh, she said, touching her sister's arm. Carmen, that text you were waiting for about the charity event. They need a response tonight. Carmen checked her own phone with theatrical concern. Oh, no, you're right. Would you excuse us, Robert? We need to call the event coordinator. Won't be more than a few minutes. Of course, I said, watching them stand. Take your time. They walked toward the restrooms, heads together, whispering urgently. I sat alone at the table, looking at my half-finished cranberry juice. The restaurant hummed around me with quiet, expensive conversation. A pianist in the corner played something soft and French. And that's when I noticed him. A security guard was approaching my table. He was in his 60s, black, with silver hair and the kind of posture that spoke of military or police training. His uniform was crisp, his expression professionally neutral, but his eyes were sharp, alert. He stopped beside my chair, leaning in slightly as if to share a confidence. Sir, he said, his voice low and urgent. I don't mean to alarm you, but I need you to listen carefully. My heart rate kicked up. What's wrong? I was standing over by the bar just now, he said, his eyes flicking toward where Elena and Carmen had disappeared, then back to me. I saw your wife and her companion come back to the table while you were looking at your phone. They thought no one was watching. He paused, and in that pause, I felt the world beginning to tilt. I saw your wife pour something from a small vial into your drink. Her sister stood in a position to block the security camera's view. It was deliberate, sir, coordinated. Time stopped. The piano music faded into white noise. The warm glow of the restaurant turned cold. The crystal glass in front of me, with its deep red liquid, suddenly looked like a cup of death. I stared at the man, whose name tag read Thomas Martinez. His face was calm, professional, but in his eyes, I saw something that made my blood freeze. Certainty and urgency. He was telling the truth. I've been a cop for 30 years before I took this job, he said quietly. I know what I saw. That wasn't someone adding sugar to your drink, sir. That was something else entirely. My mind raced. Elena, my wife of 25 years, the woman I'd built a life with, bought homes for, traveled the world with, she just poisoned my drink. What do I do? I whispered. First, don't drink that, Thomas said. Second, we need to preserve it as evidence. Can you spill it without making it obvious? I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. Do you have any health conditions they might exploit? He asked. Heart arrhythmia, I managed. I'm on beta blockers. His jaw tightened. That's probably what they're counting on. Sir, I'm going to stay close. When they come back, you need to get out of here. Don't let them drive you anywhere. Don't go home with them. Do you understand? Yes, I got your back, he said firmly. That napkin there, can you knock your glass over onto it? I'll help you preserve the evidence. My hand was shaking as I reached for the glass. The deep red liquid sloshed against the crystal. One quick motion, and it toppled over, spilling across the white tablecloth in a spreading crimson stain. Oh, damn, I muttered, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Thomas was there immediately, with extra napkins, helping to soak up the spill. But I watched as he palmed the napkin that had absorbed most of the liquid, the one that would hold the evidence of what Elena had done. I'll keep this safe, sir, he said quietly, slipping it into a plastic bag from his pocket. You call me when you're ready to talk to the police. He pressed a business card into my hand. But right now, you need to get out of here. I saw Elena and Carmen making their way back across the restaurant, their faces masks of concern as they saw the mess on our table. Robert, Elena rushed over. What happened? Are you okay? I clutched my chest, not entirely faking the pain I felt there. My heart, I gasped. It's racing. I think I'm having an episode. Oh my God, Carmen said, her nurse training kicking in automatically. Should we call an ambulance? No, I said, standing up shakily. Thomas positioned himself nearby, watching. I just need my medication. It's in my car. I need air. Let us drive you, Elena insisted, her hand on my arm. Her touch felt like ice. I'm parked right outside, I said, pulling away gently. I'll be fine. You two stay. Finish your meals. I'm so sorry to ruin the celebration. Don't be ridiculous, Elena said, but I could see the calculation in her eyes. If I left alone, she couldn't control what happened next. We should come with you. Make sure you're safe. I'll be fine, I said more firmly. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. I'm calling an Uber right now. I don't want you to worry. Please, stay. Enjoy the evening. I'll text you when I get home. Thomas caught my eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. He understood. He'd stay close, make sure they didn't follow me. If you're sure, Elena said slowly. I'm sure, I replied. I love you. I'll call you later. I walked out of the restaurant on legs that barely held me, Thomas trailing at a discreet distance. The cool night air hit my face like a slap. In the Uber, I sat in the back seat, staring at my hands. They were still shaking. My wife had just tried to kill me. The woman I'd married 25 years ago. The woman I'd built a fortune for. The woman who slept beside me every night. She'd poisoned my drink, and her sister had helped her do it. The question that pounded through my head with every heartbeat was simple and devastating. Why? The Uber driver asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine, just tired. He didn't believe me, but he didn't push. I couldn't go home. Home was where Elena would be in a few hours. Concern painted on her face, asking if I was feeling better. Home was where she knew my routines, my schedule, my vulnerabilities. Home was a trap. I directed the driver to the Marriott downtown, paid cash, and checked in under a fake name. The clerk looked at me strangely, but $100 tip bought discretion. Once in the room, I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out Thomas's business card. Thomas Martinez, security consultant, Former NYPD detective, I called the number. He answered on the second ring. Mr. Callahan? How did you know? Educated guess. Are you somewhere safe? Hotel room. Downtown Marriott. Good. Don't go home tonight. Don't let your wife know where you are. He paused. Sir, I still have the napkin. It's sealed in an evidence bag. If you want to know what was in that drink, we need to get it tested. Where? There's a private diagnostic lab on Fifth Avenue. 24-hour service. Caters to people who value discretion. I can meet you there in 30 minutes. I looked at my watch. It was nearly midnight. I'll be there. The lab was in a sleek medical building, all glass and steel. Thomas was waiting in the lobby, the evidence bag in his hand. Thank you, I said. You didn't have to do this. Yeah, I did, he said simply. I'm a cop. I see something wrong. I don't look away. Never have, never will. We approached the counter together. The technician on duty looked bored until I told him what I needed. Full toxicology screening. Priority 1. I need results tonight. Cost is not an issue. His boredom evaporated. That'll be $5,000 for the rush processing. I handed him my credit card without hesitation. He took the evidence bag, had me sign forms, and told us to come back in 4 hours. Thomas and I found an all-night diner 3 blocks away. We sat in a booth by the window, nursing cups of coffee neither of us wanted. How long have you been married? Thomas asked. 25 years. He let out a low whistle. And you had no idea that she was capable of this? No. I stared into my coffee. But I'd be lying if I said I thought we were happy. We haven't been happy in a long time. Maybe we never were. Tell me about her. So I did. I told him about meeting Elena at a tech conference in San Francisco when I was 30, and she was 27. She'd been modeling at a trade show booth. I'd been a startup founder with more ambition than money. She was beautiful, sophisticated. She moved through the world with a confidence I'd never had. I was a kid from Oklahoma who'd gotten lucky with code. She made me feel like I'd finally arrived. We got married 6 months later. Too fast, in retrospect. But I was in love, or what I thought was love. The first few years were good, or at least I remembered them as good. She managed our social life, made connections that helped my business. We traveled. We bought a house in Connecticut. We talked about having children, but Elena always found a reason to postpone. Not yet, darling. Let's wait until the company is more stable. Let's wait until we can really afford it. Let's wait until we're ready. We waited for 25 years, and somehow, we never became ready. As my company grew, so did the distance between us. She spent more time with her sister Carmen, more time at charity events, more time away. But I was busy too, building CodeStream, chasing the next product launch, the next funding round. I told myself we were just in different phases of life, that we'd reconnect when things calmed down. They never calmed down. Did you love her? Thomas asked quietly. I thought about that question, really thought about it. I loved the idea of her, I said finally. The idea of having a beautiful wife, a perfect life, the whole package. But did I love who she actually was? I don't think I ever knew who she actually was. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. Darling, are you home? I'm so worried about you. Please call me. I love you. E. I stared at the message. 3 hours ago, she'd put poison in my drink. Now she was texting, I love you. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. Don't respond, Thomas advised. Not yet. Not until we know what we're dealing with. At 4 a.m., we returned to the lab. The technician handed me a sealed envelope with the results. I opened it with hands that had started shaking again. The document was dense with medical terminology, but there was a summary at the top, written in plain English. Digoxin is a cardiac glycoside medication used to treat heart conditions. The therapeutic dose range is 0.1205, 0.25 mg. The concentration detected in this sample represents a massive overdose. For a patient currently taking beta blocker medications, as indicated by client. This digoxin concentration would be especially dangerous. The combination would severely disrupt cardiac electrical activity, likely inducing ventricular arrhythmia or cardiac arrest within 1 to 2 hours of ingestion. Given the patient's documented history of cardiac arrhythmia, death would almost certainly be attributed to natural causes, specifically fatal heart attack secondary to known cardiac condition. Standard autopsy procedures would be unlikely to detect digoxin toxicity unless specifically tested for. This concentration of digoxin represents a lethal dose, particularly for an individual with pre-existing cardiac disease taking beta blocker therapy. The lethality appears intentional, given the precise dosing required to achieve this concentration. I read it twice, then a third time. The words didn't change. Elena hadn't just tried to poison me. She'd tried to murder me in a way that would look completely natural. A man with a heart condition having a fatal heart attack. No investigation, no suspicion, just a grieving widow collecting life insurance. Jesus, Thomas breathed, reading over my shoulder. I felt numb, disconnected from my body, from reality. My wife of 25 years had researched exactly how to kill me. She knew my medications. She knew my condition. She knew how to make it look like natural causes. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was premeditated murder, planned with medical precision. "We need to call the police," Thomas said. "No," he stared at me. "Mr. Callahan." "Not yet," I said, my voice sounding strange in my own ears. "I need to understand why. I need to know what drove her to this. And I need evidence that will stand up in court, not just this lab report." I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd had memorized for 15 years. Michael Chen, my attorney, answered on the fourth ring, his voice thick with sleep. "Robert, it's 4 a.m. What's wrong?" "Everything," I said. "Michael, I need you to meet me, now, and I need you to bring the names of every private investigator you trust, because my wife just tried to murder me, and I need to know why." Michael's office was in a high-rise in Midtown. By 6 a.m., we were sitting in his conference room with Thomas and 2 other people, Jennifer Holbrook, a forensic accountant who specialized in fraud investigation, and David Park, a private investigator who'd worked major cases for the FBI before going private. I told them everything: the restaurant, the warning, the lab results, the 25 years of marriage that suddenly felt like a lie. Michael spread the toxicology report on the table like a hand of cards. "This is attempted murder," he said flatly. "Premeditated, calculated. We should go to the police right now." "And what happens then?" I asked. "Elena is beloved in our social circle. She does charity work. Her family is respected. I'm the older husband with a heart condition who just came into a massive windfall. She could paint this as paranoia, as me being mentally unstable from stress. The lab results will be challenged as possibly contaminated evidence. She'll say I'm imagining things, that the stress of the sale has made me paranoid." I leaned forward. "I need more than this. I need to understand the full scope of what she's planning. I need motive. I need to know if she's working alone, or if Carmen is part of a bigger conspiracy." Jennifer spoke up. "If you want motive, follow the money. Let me dig into your finances, your wife's finances, anything shared. Give me a week and I'll tell you where every penny has gone." David nodded. "And I'll run surveillance on both of them. See who they're talking to, where they're going. If there's a conspiracy, there are other players. Let me find them." Michael looked at me seriously. "Robert, what you're describing isn't a criminal investigation. It's a war. Are you sure you want to fight this privately?" I thought about the lab report, about the digoxin, about Elena texting, "I love you," while knowing she'd tried to kill me hours earlier. "I'm sure," I said, "but we're not going to war. We're going to do something much more effective. We're going to let her think she won. while we build an airtight case. And then, we're going to take everything. I pulled out my phone and composed a text to Elena. Sorry for the scare last night. Heart episode passed. I'm at a hotel. Just needed a quiet night to recover. Let's talk about the estate planning today. Want to get everything finalized before the sale closes. Love you. R. I hit send. Now we wait, I said. And we watch her take the bait. Elena called within 5 minutes. Robert, oh my God. I was so worried. Are you okay? Which hotel are you at? I'll come right now. I'm fine, sweetheart, I said, keeping my voice warm despite the ice in my veins. Just needed some quiet. The excitement of everything, the stress, it triggered an episode. But I'm okay now. You scared me, she said, and she sounded genuinely concerned. The performance was flawless. Please let me come see you. Actually, I think I'm going to spend the day resting. I wanted to talk to you about anything, darling. The sale closes on Monday. $85 million hits the account on Tuesday. I've been thinking a lot about our future, about making sure you're secure. I paused. I want to set everything up properly. Update the will. Create an irrevocable trust with you as the primary beneficiary. Make sure you're protected no matter what happens to me. Silence on the other end. I could almost hear her mind working. Robert, you don't have to worry about that right now. Focus on your health. My health is exactly why I need to worry about it, I said. Last night scared me, Elena. I could have died, and if something happens to me, I want to know you're taken care of. You've stood by me for 25 years. This is my way of making sure that loyalty is rewarded. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just meet me at Michael Chen's office on Tuesday afternoon, 2 p.m. He's drawing up all the paperwork. We'll sign everything. Make it official. You, me, Carmen, if you want her there for moral support. One signature, and your future is secure. Another pause. Longer this time. Tuesday at 2, she said finally. I'll be there. And Robert, yes? I love you. So much. You know that, right? The words were perfect. The tone was perfect. Everything about it was a lie. I love you too, Elena, I said, and hung up. Thomas, who'd been listening on speaker, shook his head slowly. She's good, he said. If I hadn't seen what I saw, I'd believe her completely. She's had 25 years of practice, I replied. Michael looked grim. You just told her you're making her the primary beneficiary of $85 million. If she was planning to kill you before, you just gave her an even bigger reason to try again. I know, I said. That's the point. Now, we watch what she does with that information. David Park stood up. I'll put a surveillance team on her immediately. If she meets with anyone, makes any calls, goes anywhere unusual, we'll know about it. Jennifer opened her laptop. And I'm starting the financial deep dive right now. If there's money missing, hidden accounts, unusual transactions, I'll find them. I looked at the three of them. We have 5 days until Tuesday. 5 days to build a case so airtight that when we spring the trap, she won't have anywhere to run. What about you? Michael asked. Where are you going to be? Somewhere she can't find me, I said. Somewhere safe, and somewhere I can think clearly about how this ends. I spent those 5 days in a corporate apartment in New Jersey, working remotely, waiting for reports to come in. They came in faster than I expected. Day 1, Sunday evening. Jennifer called first. Robert, I'm looking at your joint accounts. There's something off. Define off. In the past 18 months, there have been regular wire transfers to an account in Carmen's name. Total, $340,000. My hand tightened on the phone. $340,000? What was I supposedly paying for? The memo line says, Household Management Services. Did Carmen manage your household? No. Elena handled all that herself. Then this is embezzlement. Your wife has been systematically transferring money to her sister for 1.5 years. What else? There are credit cards in Elena's name I don't think you know about. High-limit cards. Total debt across all of them. $180,000. The charges are interesting. Atlantic City casinos, luxury hotels, designer boutiques. And then there's this. A wire transfer 6 months ago for $50,000 to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. She's been gambling heavily, and she's been losing. The offshore account was closed last month, completely drained. My wife was a gambler, a debtor, a thief. There's one more thing, Jennifer said hesitantly. You have 3 life insurance policies that were taken out in the past 2 years. You're listed as the insured. Elena is the beneficiary on all of them. I only know about one policy. You have 3. Total value if you die, $15 million, and they all have double indemnity clauses. Meaning if you die in an accident, she gets $30 million. I closed my eyes. She's been planning this for years. It looks that way. I'm sorry, Robert. Day 2, Monday morning. David Park sent me surveillance photos. Elena having lunch with a man I didn't recognize. Young, fit, attractive, mid-30s maybe. The caption read, Subject met with Miguel Reyes, age 38, at Café Noir, 12:30 p.m. Physical contact observed, hand-holding, kissing. Relationship appears romantic. I stared at the photos. Elena, my wife, kissing another man, in public. Another text from David. Running background on Reyes. We'll have full report by end of day. Day 2, Monday evening. The report on Miguel Reyes was damning. Miguel Reyes, age 38, personal trainer. 2 previous relationships with wealthy older women. Both relationships ended when the women divorced their husbands. Reyes received substantial settlements in both cases. Currently living in luxury apartment paid for by credit card, registered to Elena Callahan. No visible means of supporting lifestyle beyond Elena's financial support. He was a con artist, a professional, and Elena had been with him for 3 years. According to the timeline David had constructed from credit card statements and hotel records. 3 years. While I'd been building my company, she'd been building an escape plan with a man young enough to be our son. Day 3, Tuesday afternoon. David sent me audio files. We got a warrant to tap Carmen's phone. He said, You need to hear this. I listened to the recording. Carmen's voice, then Elena's. Carmen, are you sure Tuesday is the right time? Elena, he's signing everything over. The trust makes me the primary beneficiary. Once it's done, we move forward with the plan. Carmen, the digoxin didn't work at the restaurant. He didn't drink enough. Elena, because that security guard spooked him. But it doesn't matter. Once the trust is signed, we have other options. More private options. Carmen, and Miguel? Elena, Miguel gets his cut once Robert is gone. $5 million like we agreed. The rest is ours. Carmen, I still think we should have just waited for him to die naturally. Elena, laughing. With his luck, he'd live another 30 years. I'm not spending 30 more years playing the devoted wife to that boring little man. I want my life, Carmen. I want freedom. I want Miguel. And I want the money I've earned putting up with Robert all these years. Carmen, what about the new plan? Elena, he's supposed to go to his cardiologist Thursday morning. We'll make sure he has another episode Wednesday night. A fatal one this time. At home, in bed, with his CPAP machine conveniently malfunctioning. Heart attack in his sleep. Natural causes. No autopsy. No investigation. Carmen, I'll adjust his beta blocker dosage tomorrow. Double it. Combined with another dose of digoxin, his heart won't survive the night. Elena, perfect. By Friday, I'll be a grieving widow. By next month, I'll be on a beach with Miguel, living the life I should have had all along. I listened to the recording 3 times. Each time, I heard my wife laugh about killing me. Each time, I heard her call me that boring little man. Each time, I felt something inside me turned cold and hard as diamond. Day 4. Wednesday morning, Michael called. "Robert, we have a problem. I was checking the probate documents in our files. Your will. What about it? There's a codicil dated 6 months ago that I didn't prepare. It changes the primary beneficiary structure, giving Elena complete control and cutting out the charitable bequests you'd originally specified. I never signed any codicil. I know. I compared the signature to your real signature. It's a forgery. A good one, but a forgery. So she's been forging my signature for at least 6 months, possibly longer. I'm checking all the documents now. Another layer of betrayal. Another calculated crime. Day 5, Wednesday evening. David sent the final piece of the puzzle. Hospital records for Carmen's workplace. Inventory logs showing missing medications. Specifically, digoxin tablets. Missing over the past 6 months. Carmen's access card used to enter the pharmacy supply room during off hours. Security footage showing her removing medication and placing it in her purse. My wife's sister had been stealing heart medication from her hospital to use as murder weapons. I sat in that corporate apartment on Wednesday night, surrounded by evidence, financial fraud, life insurance fraud, forgery, drug theft, conspiracy to commit murder, and throughout all of it, Elena had smiled at me, kissed me, told me she loved me. For 25 years, I'd believed I had a wife. What I'd actually had was a long-term business arrangement with a woman who saw me as a means to an end. And now that the end was in sight, she was ready to dispose of the means. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. "Can't wait for tomorrow, darling. Everything is going to be perfect. I love you so much. See you at Michael's office at 2. Sweet dreams." Sweet dreams. While she planned to kill me in my sleep. I called Michael. "Is everything ready for tomorrow? Conference room is booked. I've briefed everyone. The detectives will be in the adjacent room. We'll have everything recorded. Are you sure you want to go through with this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Robert, I have to ask, why not just have them arrested now? We have enough evidence." "Because I need to look her in the eye," I said quietly. "I need her to know that I knew, that she didn't fool me, that the boring little man was smarter than she ever imagined." "Fair enough. I'll see you tomorrow at 2. I hung up and looked out the window at the New Jersey skyline. Tomorrow, everything would end. The marriage, the lies, the performance, all of it would come crashing down, and I would finally be free. Tuesday arrived under overcast skies that threatened rain. I dressed carefully that morning. My best suit. The one I'd worn when I pitched CodeStream to our first major investor. The one I'd worn when we rang the NASDAQ bell for our IPO. I wanted to look like the man I'd become, not the man Elena thought I was. I arrived at Michael's office an hour early. The conference room was ready. Along with Michael, there were 2 other people waiting. Detective Sarah Rodriguez and Detective James Walsh. Both from the Major Crimes Unit. Both briefed on everything we'd discovered. "Mr. Callahan," Detective Rodriguez said, extending her hand, "I want you to know we've reviewed all the evidence your team compiled. This is one of the most meticulously planned attempted murders I've seen in 20 years on the force." Detective Walsh added, "We'll be in the adjacent room monitoring everything. The conference room, you feel unsafe, just say the word, stop, and we'll be through that door in seconds." Thomas Martinez arrived next, still in his security uniform from an overnight shift. "Wouldn't miss this," he said simply. "I want to see her face when she realizes she got caught." At 1:55 p.m., the receptionist buzzed. "Mr. Chen, your 2 o'clock appointment is here." Michael looked at me. "Are you ready?" I thought about 25 years of marriage. 25 years of believing I had a partner. 25 years of being seen as nothing more than a wallet with a heartbeat. "I'm ready. Send them in," Michael said. The door opened. Elena walked in first, and my breath caught despite everything I knew. She looked radiant, a pale blue dress that probably cost thousands, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless. She was glowing with anticipation. Carmen followed, dressed more conservatively but equally polished. She carried a designer handbag that probably contained the very medications she'd stolen to kill me. They both smiled when they saw me. Elena crossed the room and kissed my cheek. "Darling, you look so much better. I was so worried." Her perfume was the same one she'd worn on our wedding day. The scent made me nauseous now. Carmen gave me a professional smile. "Robert, good to see you looking healthy." Elena's been beside herself with worry. I forced a smile. "I'm fine. Much better now. Thank you both for coming." They took seats across the table from Michael and me. I watched Elena's eyes scan the room, landing on the stack of 6 blue folders in front of Michael's chair. Her expression was eager, almost hungry. She thought those folders contained her future, her freedom, her $85 million ticket to a new life with Miguel. She had no idea they contained her destruction. Michael remained standing, his expression professionally neutral. "Thank you both for coming," he began. "Before we proceed with any trust documentation, there are several preliminary matters that require clarification." Elena's smile faltered slightly. "Preliminary matters. I thought we were just signing today." "There have been some irregularities that came to light during the estate review," Michael said smoothly. "Standard due diligence. I'm sure we can clear everything up quickly." He reached for the first folder. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. Michael opened the folder and slid a single document across the polished mahogany table. It was the toxicology report. "Item 1, Michael stated, his voice clinical. "This is a toxicology report from an independent certified laboratory, conducted on a sample retrieved from Robert's table at Le Bernardin on the evening of November 5th. Elena's face went rigid. The color began to drain from her cheeks. Michael continued, "Merciless and precise. The report details a concentration of digoxin at approximately 10 times the therapeutic dose. The lab analysis concludes this concentration would be lethal to an individual with Mr. Callahan's documented cardiac condition, particularly given his current beta blocker regimen. Death would likely occur within 1 to 2 hours and would appear consistent with natural heart failure." Carmen stared at the document, then at her sister. "Elena, what is this?" Before Elena could respond, Michael had already opened the second folder. "Item 2, he announced, sliding another document across. "A comprehensive forensic accounting of all joint accounts, credit cards, and financial instruments associated with this marriage." The document landed with a soft thud. "This analysis reveals systematic embezzlement over 18 months. Wire transfers totaling $340,000 to Carmen Vasquez. Undisclosed credit card debt of $180,000. A wire transfer of $50,000 to an offshore account since closed. And gambling losses at Atlantic City casinos totaling an estimated $275,000. Elena's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Carmen's face had gone white. "Elena, you told me those transfers were for investment opportunities." "Item 3, Michael interrupted, opening the third folder. This one contained surveillance photographs. He spread them across the table like a poker hand. Elena and Miguel kissing outside a cafe, holding hands on a street corner, entering a hotel together, laughing in a restaurant. Documentation of an extramarital affair with Miguel Reyes, age 38. The relationship has continued for approximately 3 years, based on credit card and hotel records. Mr. Reyes has a documented history of targeting wealthy women in committed relationships." Elena found her voice. "Robert, I can explain." "Item 4, Michael said, cutting her off. He slid 3 life insurance policies across the table. 3 separate life insurance policies on Robert Callahan's life. totaling $15 million in death benefits. All 3 policies were taken out without Mr. Callahan's knowledge or informed consent. Elena Callahan is listed as the sole beneficiary on all 3 policies. I spoke for the first time, my voice quiet but steady. I only knew about one policy, Elena, the one we took out together 15 years ago for $500,000. When did you take out the other $14.5 million? She stared at me, her perfect composure cracking like ice over deep water. Michael opened the 5th folder. Item 5, a forged codicil to Robert Callahan's will, dated 6 months ago. Handwriting analysis confirms the signature is not Mr. Callahan's. This fraudulent document eliminates all charitable bequests and concentrates the entire estate in Elena Callahan's name. Carmen stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. This is character assassination. Sit down, Ms. Vasquez, Michael said, his voice sharp. We're not finished. He opened the 6th and final folder. Item 6. Hospital inventory records from St. Luke's Medical Center showing systematic theft of digoxin tablets over a 6-month period. Security footage shows Carmen Vasquez accessing the pharmacy supply room during off hours on 17 separate occasions. These are the same medications found in Robert's drink. Michael paused, letting the weight of evidence settle over the room like a shroud. And finally, he said, pressing a button on a remote control. A screen descended from the ceiling. Speakers came to life. Carmen's voice filled the room. Are you sure Tuesday is the right time? Then Elena's. He's signing everything over. The trust makes me the primary beneficiary. Once it's done, we move forward with the plan. I watched Elena's face as she heard her own voice, plotting my murder. Watched the realization dawn that she'd been caught. Completely. Irrevocably. The recording continued. I'm not spending 30 more years playing the devoted wife to that boring little man. I want my life, Carmen. I want freedom. I want Miguel. And I want the money I've earned, putting up with Robert all these years. Michael stopped the playback. The silence in the room was absolute. Then Elena turned to me, and for the first time in 25 years, I saw her without the mask. No performance, no charm, just raw, calculating coldness. You should have just died, she said quietly. It would have been easier for everyone. Easier for you, you mean? I replied. This was supposed to be simple, she continued, her voice rising. You were supposed to drink the juice at the restaurant. You were supposed to have a heart attack in the car on the way home. Natural causes, no investigation, no mess. You'd be dead, I'd be free, and everyone would have been happy. Everyone except me. She laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You, Robert, you've been dead for years. Dead boring, dead in bed, dead to the world, except for your precious company. You think I enjoyed playing the adoring wife, attending your tedious tech conferences, pretending to care about your little coding problems? Then why didn't you just divorce me? And get what? Half? After I stood by you for 25 years, smiled through your poverty phase, your startup phase, your obsessive work phase. After I gave up my modeling career, my youth, my chances at a real life? She shook her head. No, I earned every penny of that $85 million. I earned it by pretending you were interesting, by pretending I loved you, by wasting the best years of my life on you. So murder was your solution. Murder is such an ugly word, Carmen interjected, her nurse's training kicking in with clinical detachment. We prefer to think of it as accelerating the inevitable. You have a heart condition, Robert. You were going to die eventually anyway. We were just helping you along, helping yourselves to my money, you mean? Thomas Martinez stood up from where he'd been sitting, quietly in the corner. Ladies, he said, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades as a cop, I watched you poison this man's drink. I saw the coordination, the planning, the deliberate attempt to kill him. And I'm not the only one who saw it. That's when Detective Rodriguez and Detective Walsh walked in from the adjacent room. Elena's face went from white to gray. Elena Callahan, Carmen Vasquez, Detective Rodriguez said, pulling out handcuffs. You're both under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, forgery, and theft. You have the right to remain silent. As the Miranda rights were being read, Elena turned to me one last time. Robert, she said, her voice taking on a pleading quality I'd never heard before. Please, we can work this out. I'll go to counseling. We can fix this. Don't do this to me. I looked at my wife of 25 years, at the woman who'd just called me boring, who'd laughed about killing me, who'd planned my death with the same attention to detail she used to plan charity galas. You tried to kill me, Elena. You don't get to ask for mercy now. I gave you 25 years of my life. You gave me 25 years of performance, I corrected. The real you? I'm seeing her for the first time right now, and she's a stranger. Detective Walsh stepped forward. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. As they were being led out in handcuffs, Carmen was silent, her face a mask of fury, but Elena kept talking, her composure finally shattered completely. You'll regret this. You're throwing away 25 years. I made you. Robert, without me, you're nothing. You're just a boring little man from Oklahoma who got lucky with computers. I gave you class. I gave you sophistication. You owe me. I don't owe you my life, I said quietly. The door closed behind them with a heavy click. The room fell silent. I stood there, looking at the empty chairs where my wife and sister-in-law had been sitting moments before, looking at the evidence spread across the table like autopsy results from a marriage that had died years ago without anyone pronouncing it. Michael placed a hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? I thought about that question. Was I okay? My wife had tried to kill me. My marriage had been a lie for possibly its entire duration. 25 years of my life had been built on a foundation of calculated deception. But I was alive. The truth was out. And the woman who'd seen me as nothing more than a walking ATM was now facing decades in prison. I will be, I said. Eventually, Thomas approached, still holding the evidence bag from the restaurant. Mr. Callahan, I'm glad I listened to my gut that night. I almost didn't say anything, almost convinced myself I was seeing things. Why did you speak up? He smiled sadly. 30 years as a cop, you learn to recognize predators. And that night, I saw a predator hunting. I couldn't walk away from that. Didn't matter that I was just a security guard. Didn't matter that it wasn't my jurisdiction. Some things you can't ignore. I shook his hand. You saved my life. I don't know how to repay that. Don't need repayment. Just do something good with the life you get to keep living. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed for the sentencing. Elena had pleaded guilty to attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, and forgery. Her attorney had advised against trial. The evidence was too overwhelming, the recordings too damning. Carmen had also pleaded guilty to conspiracy, drug theft, and accessory to attempted murder. Miguel Reyes, caught trying to flee the country, pleaded guilty to conspiracy in exchange for testimony against both women. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen too many cases like this. Elena Callahan, she said, looking down from the bench, you took sacred vows of marriage and twisted them into a murder plot. You exploited your husband's trust, his health conditions, and his generosity. You stole from him, lied to him, and attempted to kill him, all for money. Elena sat at the defense table, no longer glowing. Prison had stripped away the polish. She looked older, harder, diminished. You will serve 18 to 25 years in state prison, Parole will not be considered before 18 years. Elena's shoulders slumped. Carmen Vasquez, the judge continued, you violated your oath as a healthcare professional. You stole medications meant to save lives and used them as weapons. You will serve 12 to 18 years. Carmen showed no emotion, just stared straight ahead. Miguel Reyes, for your role in this conspiracy and your exploitation of vulnerable women, you will serve 10 to 15 years. The gavel came down. 3 lives destroyed, 3 people going to prison, and 1 man walking out of the courtroom, a free man. I stood outside on the courthouse steps, feeling the sun on my face for the first time in what felt like years. Michael joined me. How do you feel? Relieved, sad, angry, grateful. I shook my head, all of it at once. That's normal. This kind of betrayal, it takes time to process. I keep thinking about something Elena said, that I was boring, that she wasted her life on me. And maybe I was boring to her. Maybe I was so focused on building my company that I stopped being a person. Maybe the marriage was doomed from the start. I looked at Michael, but that still didn't give her the right to kill me. No, he agreed. It absolutely didn't. My phone buzzed. A text from Thomas Martinez. Saw the news. Justice served. Coffee sometime? I have a proposition for you. Tea. I smiled and texted back. Name the time and place. 3 months later, I'm standing in a bright, modern office space in downtown Manhattan. The walls are painted in warm, welcoming colors. There's a reception area with comfortable chairs, a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows, and a state-of-the-art computer lab. The sign on the door reads, Second Act Foundation, Rebuilding Lives After Betrayal. Thomas Martinez is with me, along with a board of directors we've assembled over the past 3 months. Therapists, financial advisors, legal experts, all dedicated to one mission, helping people over 50 rebuild their lives after devastating betrayals. The foundation provides free legal assistance for divorce and fraud cases, financial counseling and debt management, job training and placement for people re-entering the workforce, mental health support for betrayal trauma, small business loans for people starting over. We funded it with $10 million from my company sale, the best $10 million I've ever spent. We have 43 applications already, Thomas says, reviewing the intake forms. People who've been embezzled by spouses, people whose partners drained retirement accounts, people who discovered decades of lies. 43 people who thought they were alone, I say, and now they're not. A woman walks into the reception area. She's maybe 60, well-dressed, but with a weariness in her eyes I recognize. Mr. Callahan? She asks tentatively. Yes, you must be Patricia. I am. I applied for assistance last week. Your team called and said to come in today. She looks around the office, her eyes filling with tears. Is this real? Can you really help? I think about the toxicology report, about Thomas's warning, about the evidence that saved my life. We can really help, I say. Tell me your story. She sits down and begins to talk about the husband who emptied their accounts, about the divorce that left her with nothing, about starting over at 62 with no savings and no safety net. I listen, really listen, and then I introduce her to our team, financial advisor to help her rebuild, attorney to review her divorce settlement, career counselor to help her find work, therapist to help her heal. By the time she leaves 2 hours later, she's smiling through her tears. You gave me hope, she says at the door. I thought my life was over, that he'd won, but now I see there's a path forward. After she leaves, Thomas looks at me. How many more do you think there are out there? People who feel like their lives ended with betrayal? Thousands, I say. Maybe hundreds of thousands. People who thought they had partners but really had predators. People who built lives on foundations that turned out to be lies. We can't save them all. No, but we can save some, and those some will save others. I look around the office. Elena wanted my death to fund her escape. Instead, my survival is funding their second chances. Thomas smiles. Your wife tried to poison you to get rich. Now you're using that money to heal the exact kind of damage she caused. There's poetry in that. Not poetry, I say. Justice. The kind of justice that doesn't come from a courtroom. The kind that comes from taking something toxic and transforming it into something healing. 1 year later, I'm sitting in a coffee shop in the West Village. Morning sunlight streaming through the windows. Across from me is a woman named Jennifer. She's 58, a former teacher who applied to the foundation 6 months ago after discovering her husband had been embezzling from her mother's estate. Today, she's here to tell me she just opened her own tutoring business with a loan from the foundation. I never thought I'd start over, she says. I thought at 58, after 30 years of marriage to a man who stole from my own mother, my story was finished. And now I realize it was just the end of one chapter. There are more chapters to write. She slides a business card across the table. Jennifer Morrison, Tutoring Services. I already have 12 students. I look at the card and feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Pure, uncomplicated joy. I'm proud of you, I say. I couldn't have done it without you, without the foundation. You did it yourself. We just gave you the tools. After she leaves, I sit alone with my coffee, watching the city move around me. My phone buzzes. An email from the foundation's director. Subject, Milestone Robert. We just processed our 500th client. 500 people helped. 500 lives rebuilt. 500 second acts. Thought you'd want to know. Sarah. 500 people. I think about Elena in prison, about Carmen, about Miguel, about the life they tried to steal from me. And I think about the lives we've rebuilt with the resources they thought they'd inherit. A security guard I'd never met saved my life by paying attention, by speaking up when he saw something wrong. Now I'm trying to do the same, not by stopping poison, but by helping people recover from it. My phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Mr. Callahan? A young voice, nervous. Yes, my name is David Chen. I'm a waiter at Le Bernardin. Thomas Martinez, the security guard who used to work here. He gave me your number. He said you help people who've been betrayed by family. I do. My parents. They cleaned out my college fund to pay gambling debts. I'm 23, halfway through medical school, and I don't know how to finish. Thomas said, you might be able to help. I close my eyes. Another person hurt by someone who should have protected them. Another life disrupted by betrayal. Come to the foundation office tomorrow, I say. 2 p.m. We'll figure it out. Really? Just like that? Just like that. Education is exactly what we fund. He's crying on the other end of the line. Thank you. Thank you so much. After he hangs up, I sit for a moment in the coffee shop. 25 years of my life were built on a lie. My wife didn't love me. She loved my money, and when she thought she could get more money by killing me, she tried. But she failed, and in failing, she gave me something more valuable than the $85 million I kept. She gave me purpose. Thank you for watching this story. If you or someone you love has experienced financial abuse, elder fraud, or betrayal by a trusted partner, please know that help is available. Resources and support hotlines are linked in the description below. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us see us only as resources to exploit. But sometimes, strangers step up to save us. Like Thomas, the security guard, who spoke up when he saw something wrong. Be that stranger for someone else. Pay attention. Speak up. You might save a life. Like and subscribe if you believe it's never too late for a second act. Share this story if you think it might help someone understand they're not alone in their betrayal. And remember, the best revenge isn't destruction, it's transformation. taking the pain someone caused you and using it to heal others. See you in the next video.